Hi there, this is Debbie Nicholson coming to you from Beat Cancer. I'm the Director of Community Outreach, and I love bringing our amazing coaches to you so you can get to know them on a more personal level. And today I have Sabine Hope with us, and she's a breast cancer survivor, and she has a wonderful story to share with us, and I love her philosophy. She has a 5 essentials philosophy that's very holistic in nature. So she gets that healing is multidimensional, and I love that she found her root cause, and she's going to tell us all about that. So thank you so much for being here with us today, Sabine. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I feel honored to be here.
We have, and I was just saying, we have such a wonderful group of coaches.
Yes.
It's really nice that we have so many wonderful resources to present to people that are looking for counseling and coaches. So why don't you tell us basically your story, who you are, and
yes, will do.
journey.
So, yes. So I'm based in the UK. I live about an hour south of London. And yes, I'm a breast cancer survivor. And as I always say, thriver. I was diagnosed in September 2016. And it was a massive surprise. So I regarded myself as extremely healthy. My husband for a while was an organic farmer, so I was very, very aware of healthy eating. Already as a teenager, I was really fascinated by healthy eating. So I've eaten healthily my whole life. I also knew, I don't know how, but as a teenager already, that we must be careful with cosmetics and skincare. So I've never ever used anything toxic on my skin. There was absolutely no history of any cancer in my family. So I was well and I was fine. And I had 2 little boys, well, already bigger boys at the time. And in the summer of 2016, I had like an inflammation, a bit like a mastitis, like you would feel in after giving birth and having your baby and breastfeeding.
Yes, I have that.
You have this sort of mastitis inflammation. So, well, first of all, actually, before I had that, I went to the GP, and here in the UK, from a certain age onwards, you have the right to have annual mammograms. And I knew nothing about breast cancer, any of it at the time. I had no contact with cancer whatsoever. And I thought, oh, well, maybe it's time I should check out whether I should have a mammogram. I went to the GP and they said to me, you're too young. You're not 45 yet. And we only start with 45. Come back when you're 45. And the extraordinary thing is that literally a week later, I had this inflammation in my breast, this mastitis type inflammation. So I went back to the GP. And of course, well, over here at least, the minute you've got an issue, then you're in the system, then they send you off for all the treatments and the checkups. So because I had this inflammation, they tried first with antibiotics, and that didn't really touch it. So they sent me off to the mammogram and the ultrasound. And I remember, like today, sitting there and the consultant saying to me, don't worry, cancer doesn't hurt. If you have cancer, it wouldn't hurt you. You wouldn't know it's there. I'm sure it's a cyst, I said at the time, no worries. Yeah, so they did the mammogram, they did the ultrasound, and already then they started taking biopsies. And I was, I knew nothing at the time. I just let it all happen and waited. And, then after that, they called me into the side room and basically said to me, there is something, we don't know what it is, and please come back next week and bring somebody with you. And of course, then if you're asked to come back and bring somebody with you, then And as most people with the cancer diagnosis, I'm sure know, from that moment on, you experience a lot of fear. You go from one appointment to the next, until you know a little bit more what's going on. Yeah, I had a mastectomy a month later, November 2016. And I had no reconstruction. That was definitely my choice. I didn't want one. And and then I went from there, healing and recovering. But what happened with me was that just out of interest, because I've always, as I said, I've always been fascinated with natural health and well-being, and I've always researched, and I've always been interested. Of course, I started researching and reading and so on. And just out of interest, I said to my oncologist, so I'm in no risk group. I lived such a healthy life. Why do you think I have cancer? You know? And they said, don't worry about it. It's completely random. It's just an odd thing the DNA sometimes does. You know, it's just the way it is. Don't worry about it. And I thought, no, I'm not having that, you know. And so that really made me passionate.
Right, because that kind of takes all the control away. Like it was some unlucky thing that happened.
Yes.
And there's nothing you can do about that.
Exactly. There's nothing you can do about it.
Right, and that kind of takes the control and the power away from the person.
It does, and it's in a way it's so wrong, isn't it? Because, well, it's so easy to be there and to become a victim, you know, once you're in the system.
Well,
and
you must have been really kind of perplexed.
Yes, well, exactly. I was completely perplexed and I wasn't having it. I felt very, very early on that the cancer came to me as a wake-up call, that it was telling me something, that I was meant to listen. That was really clear to me. I couldn't quite formulate it yet, but somehow I knew I had to find out, and it was important that I know why I got to this place.
Right.
And I do feel, yes, I mean, you know, that I now working with people in the same situation, of course, there's never any blame in it. It's not your fault that you have a diagnosis, but there may be a reason that is really helpful for you to sort of tune into for the recovery and the healing process.
Yeah, I think it's really vital.
Exactly. So that's what I did, you know, and I became really passionate about researching and reading and asking, and you know, I went from one book to the next, internet research, and that's also how I found the Center for Cancer Education and the course, the cancer coaching course, which was amazing. When I found you guys, it was for me like a coming home. Because, you know, a lot of things in my mind that I started to believe in, I suddenly thought, my goodness, there is people who have researched this and who think exactly like me and who actually express what I have been feeling and wondering and thinking for a while and have the right words for it and the right research for it. So it was so wonderful. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes, I think it is a wonderful place to connect with like-minded people and feel that support. And right, and what you know, what in your gut you believe to be true is actually what others are finding has worked for them.
Yes.
Yeah. What you were doing some type of other brain counseling, or what was that?
Yeah, so you're referring to the embed coaching. I did a training in multi-brain integration coaching, which is interesting.
About that.
Yes, and it fits really well with cancer coaching because it is basically based on neuroscience, sort of the latest research where we know now that we have more than one brain. So we have a head brain, we are very aware of that, and we have a heart brain and we have a gut brain. So we have an independent neural network in the brain, in the heart, and the gut. We know that now, and we also know that the three connect via the vagus nerve. Right. So the embed coaching is really based on the coach helping the person to tap into not just their brain, but also their heart and their gut. So, you know, people who come with sometimes major issues, by helping them to sort of get out of that head mode that we are commonly in and go a bit deeper into their heart and their gut, then amazing answers, amazing.
Wow, that's really neat.
Yes, it's fun. It's really fascinating. Yes, and
Does
very
it
useful.
Have to be in person, or can that be remote?
No, that can be remote. You don't need to be with the person in the same room. Can absolutely. It's interesting. It's a very particular type of coaching. I would say it's almost more like a therapeutic approach, but we're not allowed to call it that. So we call ourselves coaches. But actually, we are more facilitators. You know, we just guide the person, you know, to tap into their own wisdom. You know,
right.
No, it's fascinating. Yes,
that is. And the microbiome's so hot right now.
Exactly.
And the vagus nerve, I've been reading a lot about that. And tapping into ourselves too.
Yes.
And it's nice to have a coach, I think, to help. facilitate all these
yes.
things.
You need that guidance, and you need the right questions asked, you know, that you can connect on these different levels to yourself. Yeah. Mm.
So I was reading on your site, you know, because you were such a healthy eater, and you said sometimes it's more than a green smoothie.
Mm. Mm.
How did you kind of tap into or figure out that there was emotional work that had to be done? Because I think it's easy for people to want to follow a recipe, but especially I think with breast cancer and a nurturing type of more emotional issues, how do you figure that out? I mean,
yes, I mean, it took me a little bit of time, because sort of even looking at natural health, I think the sort of the first direction anybody looks, I think, is nutrition.
right.
And I did too, and I changed my nutrition at the time, but I was already very healthy. So I changed a lot, and it actually made me feel quite miserable. And I came to the conclusion that's not the way to go. You know, feeling miserable is not the way to go. You know, to have this feeling that you have to eat in a particular way, otherwise, you know, your health will be going down the drain. And it was so much pressure on myself. But with time, I then also learned through more reading, through kind of asking myself where I'm at in life, because I hadn't really stopped to think about my life and where I'm at for a long, long time. I started to realize, yes, actually a lot more of why I am where I am is in the world of emotional well-being. And the more I work now with women with breast cancer and the world of cancer and breast cancer, I'm realizing more and more and more trauma and stress.
Right.
You know, emotional well-being is just such a key. You know, and of course there's never just one reason, and there's never just one answer, but I'm seeing more and more how big that topics that are also important, like nutrition, for example, or movement, or, you know, toxic lifestyle and so on, but stress and trauma. Yeah.
Right. So I guess it is kind of a wake-up call, like you were saying, to really focus on yourself, choose yourself. And,
yes, that's right.
Connecting with yourself.
Absolutely. And I've also come to believe when you start tapping into yourself and you really ask yourself, what do I need now? You know, what brought me here and what do I need now? I do think that most people with a cancer diagnosis know, you know, if they really listen to themselves, actually, I think that the answer will come. They will know, you know, what that is.
Absolutely. And the 5 essentials, your holistic approach to healing. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yes, of course. So out of all that, so I'm a trained health coach now. That was sort of the first thing I did after my own diagnosis, sort of to retrain a little bit out of my interest. And then I did the cancer coaching course. And so sort of out of my own interest, passion, research, my own experience, I then developed this approach that I call the 5 essentials. And to make it a little bit more simple and sort of down to earth, I call these 5 essentials Nourish, Flourish, Detox, Move, and Love. And so under the heading of these, of course, Nourish is all about nutrition, hydration, and so on. But what I find really important is that with each of these elements that there is joy, you know, that there's joy. So as I said earlier, nutrition mustn't be some kind of restricted diet that gives, you know, where life becomes really tough. If people love that and want that, that's fine. You know, no size fits all. There's an individual approach for each person. And I'm not going to say you must be vegan, you must be that. It's kind of a journey with each person to establish what that healthy diet is and how that can be achieved. But, you know, I believe also for myself, then there's days when I eat, I don't know, where I have my glass of wine and where I eat that bit of chocolate cake, or, you know, because that, if I weigh up the joy in life and the health benefit, well, I go for the joy in life in that moment. Not every day, all day, you know, but that's really important. That's why I call it Nourish. It's not just about that super strict diet. And then it's also, even on a cancer journey, different stages. You know, somebody in active cancer treatment might want to be more strict than somebody who's on a recovery journey and, you know, looking after being in remission.
Right.
So that's Nourish. And then Flourish is all about emotional well-being, how we can achieve that, where we're at. So I go through lots of exercises and you know, recommendations of how we can work with that. Emotional well-being. The detox part, of course, is about, again, quite down to earth. What can we do in daily life? You know, I'm not talking about strict week-long detox cleansers, but really just, you know, where you're at in your body care, your skin care, your cleaning materials, what kind of how toxic is your general lifestyle at the moment? What can we do to detox that? Again, whilst you still enjoy your skin care and your cosmetics, because there is beautiful products out there. And
there's more and more choices.
Exactly. No, there's wonderful products. Also, when you come to cleaning, and then also, what can I do in daily life to detox? You know, just little things that help us in daily life to stay detox. Is a little bit like staying at a healthy weight, isn't it? You know, to how can we live a detox lifestyle, you know, a non-toxic lifestyle. Yes, so that is one of the elements. And then movement, of course, you know, we know how important exercise is, you know, for people with cancer and for recovery from cancer, and in particularly for staying in remission. And I go through that. But again, you know, it's no good putting ourselves through strict programs that completely exhaust us. What type of exercise do you love? What actually brings you joy? You know, how can you keep moving? Yes, and the essential
fun way, I guess. In a fun way that energizes.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Yes, and then the essential of love. That's probably the one that puzzles people most. But that for me is all about passion in life. You know, from my reading and my own experience and talking to women with breast cancer, very often you can see that women have sort of lost their golden thread in life, lost their track, you know, maybe have been so busy thinking about an ill elderly parent or their children, and they've lost their sort of own personal mojo for why they get up in the morning. And for one person, there might be something spiritual that's important for them and that they want to reconnect with. And for another person, it's not spiritual at all. It's just, I don't know, maybe a new job or being in a relationship that doesn't serve them anymore. You know, what makes you get up in the morning? What makes you feel passionate? And I believe that all elements together, these 5 essentials, really look at the person completely holistically.
Right. And some people might have to focus on one more than another.
Absolutely. Exactly. Right. And through conversation, one can work that out. Absolutely.
That's wonderful. I love that. I love that holistic approach where every aspect of a person is being addressed.
Yes.
And I think it's a luxury then to focus on self and bring us back to a place of optimal health.
Yes, absolutely.
Sometimes it takes a cancer diagnosis, unfortunately, to allow ourselves that luxury. I think as women, you know, a lot of times we're caretakers and we're focused on others.
I think you're so right. And I wish I could help women with prevention rather than talking to somebody once they have breast cancer. But I know from myself, I wouldn't have listened. You know, 4 years ago, if somebody would have said to me, don't you think you need to stop and breathe? I would have said, no, I don't have time. I can't, you know, the world needs me kind of thing. But yes, no, I think that's so common. And yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I feel that way. And I think all women, especially after children, and we're all kind of in that boat, and then our parents and
so many different pressures. That's right.
I'm kind of in an interesting spot because I get to talk to a lot of people that have healed from cancer, and I know what needs to be addressed and what the trip ups are. And I mean, now almost 1 in 2 people are getting a diagnosis in their lifetime.
Yes.
So prevention is, it's really much easier than healing. And we know, we see every other commercial on TV, especially, I don't know, in the United States, when you're watching TV, every other commercial is a cancer drug now. So
yes,
it's really in our face. So
yes,
it kind of makes you think.
it does, doesn't it? Yeah. I mean, I do hope that, you know, with there being more and more cancer coaches, not so much in the UK, it's very, very uncommon, unknown here, cancer coaching. But I really hope that there will slowly be a ripple effect, you know, that will then eventually help with prevention, that people will become more aware.
I think so. I think people are being touched with family members, and
yes,
everybody's being touched in a way with cancer now. So I think people are starting to become aware and starting to ask questions. And I think it's so important to have a coach to help on the journey of accountability and structure and support,
yes,
especially from
yes,
someone who understands.
yes.
Everybody needs that type of support.
Yes, definitely. I mean, I think in the UK, there's a bit of a misconception still. I meet that a lot now, that people believe if they hear cancer coaching and they don't know what it is, that they assume it's some kind of alternative approach where the cancer coach will tell you, you can't take chemo, you can't do chemotherapy, you can't take the drugs. I'll prescribe green smoothies to you, or you know, or something similar.
Right.
And I meet that a lot, that I need to explain, no, it's not at all like that. It is your choice. You know,
Right.
you can work with a cancer coach as an adjunctive option.
Absolutely.
And it's completely up to you what you choose. I am not going to tell you you shouldn't do chemotherapy. I just may be able to open up more options to you, you know, that you have a whole range of options, and out of that you then pick what is right for you, you know, and I'll be by your side, you know, helping you along.
Yeah,
So
I think it's absolutely. We don't tell anybody what to do. It's really nice to educate, though, help them to ask their doctor the right questions so they get the most information to make a decision from an empowered place and to feel real good about it, because the mind is so powerful.
Yes.
So then in the end, whatever you believe is really what you should do.
Yes.
So if you can make a decision from a place of feeling in control of your body and what's going on, I think there's a much better chance of a positive outcome.
Yes,
Then
exactly.
you're right. I mean, if somebody, and sometimes things are necessary, but we can always help with treatment being more effective, with side effects being lessened. And then from there, support after treatment's over. Because sometimes people feel very kind of left, like, what do I do now? You know, and
yes, that's also very, very common, isn't it? I mean, I certainly see that a lot, this time when active treatment finishes, to feel lost and alone, and this back to normal, what that really means, you know, and maybe back to normal is a completely new normal. I mean, that's why I've called my core. So I do some group coaching programs, and I do one-to-one coaching, but sort of generally my approach, I call it from breast cancer to butterfly, because I sort of feel it is, you know, you're becoming somebody new, you know, maybe you need to think differently and no longer think how can I get back to normal, you know, how can I be that person again that I used to be before I went through treatment, to open up this new possibility of becoming that new person.
I love that. I mean, just the thought of it is that transformational, positive energy. That's sounds healing.
Yes.
It feels good. Yeah. So tell us where we can find you.
Yes, so I am on social media. On Instagram, I'm the breast cancer coach. On Facebook, I'm the breast cancer coach. And I've just started a group for women with breast cancer on Facebook, and it's called the Breast Cancer Crew.
Okay.
So, you know, ladies are very, very welcome to join that. I offer lots of information, conversation, trainings, and so on. And my website is Sabine Hope, Breast Cancer Coach.
Okay.
Sabine Hope, Breast Cancer Coach.
Wonderful. Well, it's been so nice to connect with you, and we're so glad you're doing well. And it's just really nice to have this resource for women. And we're really happy that you're part of our coaching family and that people can come to you. And that's really, really wonderful. So thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, Deborah. No, I'm very glad to be with you and be in that group of cancer coaches who've graduated with you. And yeah, as you say, it's a fantastic supportive group of people.
It is fantastic.
Yes.
Yeah. And so if you're looking for coaching one-on-one or group, these are wonderful resources, very healing. So thank you again for being with us.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll talk soon.
Yes.
Bye-bye.